There's always something magic. There's always something new. That's by Jim Steinman. That's our quote of the day. Now, imagine there's a room, and imagine there's a bunch of imaginary friends. And imagine that the room is filled with the bunch of imaginary friends, and imagine that the bunch of imaginary friends move around the room and bump into each other. How profoundly and dramatically would it change our entire universe, everything we know about our universe, if the moving around and bumping into each other somehow caused the imaginary friends to coalesce and become a real friend? The answer to that question is not even a little. Stay tuned as we explore that issue and more here on Exus The Podquest. Welcome to Exus The Podquest. Today we're going to be talking about something that is deeply at the heart, the deep heart of the mission of this show. It's what I refer to as the magic that already is. Everybody wants there to be magic in the world. We're all looking for some type of magic, something that's out of the ordinary and disruptive, etc., and that turns everything on its head. A good example is what's in the news today. It's all over the internet about the Egyptian pyramids and the Giza Plateau, and what a couple of researchers have said that they've found underneath the pyramids and the entire Giza setting. They say that they found these large structural tubes that go 2 miles down underneath the pyramids, attaching to a base, and then they connect to a large network of other structures throughout the area. And this is, of course, previously unknown, and it's taking the internet by storm. We want that. We want that to be something like what they're suggesting, a flood, an antediluvian flood society of some sort, a whole group of people that lived before the Great Flood, that built this through technology that we no longer have available to us. We want that to be the answer because it's disruptive. It's out of the norm. It's fun. It's something that would be just throw everything into disarray. That's what we want. We want that magic. Right? Or another great example, of course, is UFOs. We want that. Now, UFOs, or they have new terminology for it, aerial phenomenon, but we want that to be aliens from other planets or other worlds out there to have visited and to be visiting the Earth, because that, again, it's something that's magical. It's something that's fun. And it's something, again, disruptive to our current understanding of everything. We want things to just get turned around and say, oh my God, how did that happen? We want that. It's what everyone wants. But here's the thing, is that things like the Egyptian pyramids and that structural finding, I'm going to suggest that that's very, very unlikely to be true. There's a lot of criticism out there already. And when it first came out, I was like, wait a second. How could it have never been found before? There's a whole lot of reasons. We can get into that, but it's really not the point. The point that I really want to raise is that instead of looking at Egyptian pyramids and UFOs and all of that, why don't we look around at the world that we have and see the magic that already is there, the magic that already is. And it's right here in my hand, just like everything else, like the microphone. There's a bottle of pop over here. All the stuff that we have in our world is already comprises magic that exists, that we can see, we can handle, etc. And let me explain. It's not the actual technology built on the phone that I'm really saying is so magical, but it's the structure of it, the composition of it, and composition of this pen and the paper and everything that we have. If you take a look at the very lowest elements of the bottom elements of foundational elements of what it's made up of, that's where the magic is. So you take the phone and you break it down, eventually you reach the atomic level. Everything's made of atoms, and I think most people who study science even a little bit know that. But below that level, what's below that are subatomic particles. And I've talked about this on other shows, on the strangeness problem and other things. We had a conversation that I had with Larry Gottlieb. But if you take a deeper look at it and you say, okay, what's below the atomic level? We've got subatomic particles like electrons, protons, and neutrons. Protons and neutrons form the nucleus of the atom, and then electrons supposedly go around the outside. It's more of a cloud, but whatever. All right? Those are things that are called subatomic particles, but more technically, electrons are what are known as leptons, and the protons and neutrons are quarks. So if you take a look at what those are, and you take a look to see what the nature of them are, you find that they are not real in the sense of anything else we know about. Niels Bohr has a great statement. Niels Bohr was one of the founding fathers of quantum physics, and he said this. He said, "Everything we call real is made up of things that cannot be regarded as real. Leptons, quarks, electrons, protons, these things that are at the elementary level, don't have a real nature until they interact with something else or they're observed by something. They're probabilistic. They exist in a fuzzy realm of what's known as a superposition. That means that they're spread out into every other possible, anything that's possible, any other state that's possible. They exist in those states all at once until either they interact with something else or they're observed by something else." And in the end, when I look at that, I think, how can that possibly be the case? Because when you take a look at a cell phone, that's not the case. But the things that make up the cell phone are in that fuzzy, probabilistic kind of a nature until they interact with each other. So they're snapping into existence based on interaction or based on observation. But before that, they don't even exist. So, you can ask yourself, what's crazier? An alien society that visited Earth and built structures underneath the pyramids, or something that I'm holding in my hand that we can all see and understand that actually is built on stuff, building blocks that don't even exist? And that's where I say the magic that already is the cell phone, whereas the things like the Egyptian pyramids and the UFOs, those things likely don't exist. I'm not saying UFOs don't exist; they probably do. And also there's probably life outside outside of the Earth and all the rest of it. Maybe there is. You got billions and billions and billions of galaxies, but have they visited Earth? I don't know. In the meantime, I do know that the cell phone exists. I know my pen exists. I know the microphone exists, and they're all made up of things. However, they don't exist. It's the imaginary friends again. It's just like, okay, what if you have a bunch of imaginary stuff that's, sitting here all by itself, and eventually it starts bumping around enough that it just pops into existence, a real cell phone. That's exactly what it's like. And to me, that is it's just absolutely astounding. I'd love to know your thoughts on this and your input on it. There are so many more examples of what I refer to as the magic that already is, and I'm going to touch on that as we go ever forward on the show. But I'd love to know your thoughts. Go to exusthepodquest.com and let me know. Also, the comment section on YouTube is wide open. Let's have your comments there. That would be awesome. Love to know what you think about this, whether you like where we're going with this or not. I'm going to still do it regardless, but I'd still like to have I'd love to have your input on it. That would be great. Again, if you go to YouTube, and when you do, please like this video, even if you don't, and subscribe again, even if you already have. Share the video with as many people as you can. You guys go there. We will be going ever forward.